The 0-2 pitch, swing and a miss, struck him out. The Philadelphia Phillies are 2008 World Champions of Baseball.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to welcome to the Phixated Podcast recap of NLDS Game 1. And, if you watched it, this is who they are. This is who they are. I'm your host. That's the co-host. The Phillies are 2 losses away from throwing this entire season down the toilet. Starting to think that 2022 might have been their only shot. Regz, go ahead. I don't.
I'm not sure I have much more to say. It's just I'm laughing out of sadness, not out of happiness. It's just such a, in thinking in the for the past hour and a half or so, just kind of sitting here thinking about it. What a contrast to what we saw Zach Wheeler do to how the rest of his team decided to show up today. That guy is one of the better aces I've ever seen this team have. And to gut it out and get that final out so they could bring in the relievers in a clean inning. It was just, you couldn't ask for more from your number one pitcher. You couldn't ask for more from your number one pitcher. And this offense, outside of Kyle Schwarber and Bryce Harper to an extent, just simply failed to show up to a playoff game. And for the record, I placed the blame squarely on Trey Turner and Nick Castellanos.
Alec Bohm deserves a little bit of it.
Bohm's the third on the list. But if you're just talking about how much somebody's getting paid and what their job is on this team, look nothing farther than literally the first inning. Wheeler throws 11 pitches, I think. No balls.
All strikes.
Doesn't throw a single ball. Is throwing 99, 98. And just absolutely blowing it by Mets hitters. I think we talked about this the other day. Kyle Schwarber then hits a leadoff home run. You're like, how do you want to get the crowd into it? Do you this is how you show that you can come out and do what you've talked about? And he does it, man. He hits one 425 feet and 117 miles an hour to the second deck of right center field. And then what does Trey Turner do? Strikes out on a forkball a foot outside and in the dirt. Bryce Harper then, trying to get it back going, walks. What does Nick Castellanos do? Strikes out on a forkball down low and in the dirt. I can't even remember what Bohm did. It doesn't really matter. I think he swung at the first pitch and, grounded out, I'm sure. And that would be indicative of the rest of the game. Maybe you can say, oh, they didn't strike out 14 times. But there were 2 balls hit hard before Cody Clemens hit a double in the 9th inning. It was Schwarber's home run, and it was Bryce's double. That was in the 8th, I think. Outside of that, it was weak contact, pop-ups.
Yeah.
just a sheer lack of an approach that would speak to just get the next guy up. And we talked about it beforehand. You give the Mets an inch and they will take a mile. And that's what happened in the 8th.
They the only clear advantage it feels like at this point that the Phillies have is the one they wasted tonight. And it was Zach Wheeler. You're gonna see some bad takes over the next couple of days on social media. I can't believe some of the stuff I'm seeing on social media.
There's already some.
Oh yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. I can't believe some of the stuff. Like he should have stayed in, like fire topper.
Yeah, right.
Like what is Rob Thompson supposed to do?
Right.
What is Rob Thompson supposed to do? Trey Turner had at least three. I don't remember the fourth, but 3 of the most abysmal at bats I've ever seen a major leaguer have in a play. Like abysmal at bats. Like there are a couple moments in this game that are going to crush my soul for the entire offseason. And I know most of you are saying it's only game 1, Mike. They're not winning this series. If they do, I will sit on here and own everything, eat my words, admit my faults. They're not winning this series. Sorry, folks. They're not. And if they do, it's going to take all 5 games because they're not winning 3 in a row. They shot themselves in the foot today. But there are two situations that will haunt me, and I don't remember what order they happened in. I'm trying to block out everything from today outside of the Schwarber leadoff homer and Zach Wheeler's performance. But I think I don't remember the inning, but Brandon Marsh hitting one to basically it was Raul Ibanez all over again. And who knows what happens if that gets out. Like, who knows? You don't know if it opens the floodgates. You don't know if the relievers feel a little bit more comfortable. You don't know. The other one was Yohan Rojas getting on to lead off with a great at bat to walk to lead off an inning. Had second base stolen by like forever and a day, and Kyle ended up swinging at what would have been ball 3, I think. He ended up getting the second anyway, but it would have just been nice to let him steal that base and then get him to third
with the ground
out.
Matter.
Doesn't matter because Trey like popped up to second or something like that after that.
Foul to Pete Alonso.
That's right, because I thought Pete was going to drop it since he does that every so often. And then I think about the bullpen scenario, and look, none of the other bye teams are having any issues at all. The Yankees scored 6 runs, the Guardians scored 7, and the Dodgers have 5. Yeah, they have 5. So no one else is struggling. So we can put that to rest.
Yep.
This is who the Phillies are. Point blank, period. This is who they are. They know it. They say it. They can't stop. But I will give guys like the relievers a little bit of grace. It's not good what happened. Don't get me wrong. I'm not forgiving it. But that can almost be expected. Like when you look at what happened with the Yankees game today, they were given the lead back and forth for basically 7 innings. It looks like the same thing's happening with San Diego and the Dodgers. Like what happened was crappy, and it sucks that your 3 best relievers come in and can't do a job. Like, it sucks. It sucks because I'm texting you like, which one are they going to go to? It's one or the other.
Yeah. And
what really sucks is they had everybody 0-2, 1-2. They just couldn't put away. And you know what, Regz? Credit the Mets. They do exactly what the Phillies don't. They change their approach with 2 strikes. And it worked. Isn't that crazy? Isn't that crazy? You foul off pitches that are close and don't swing when they're out of the zone.
8 hits, all singles, right?
Yeah. Yep. And they're just a better team right now. The Phillies are who they are. And unfortunately, I said my goodbyes to Citizens Bank tonight. I don't think I'm going back this year. I think this is it. And you can call me a hater, you can call me, but we've seen this team do this. We've seen it. We saw it in the World Series in 22. We saw it in the NLCS last year. And at least this time they're getting it out of the way early. It's absolutely devastating. It's incredibly frustrating. Changes will have to be made. And I don't think it's just Kevin Long. I think some players have to go. And it's going to be hard to get rid of them. It's going to be hard. But this team's not winning anything as currently constructed. It's again, we're watching it again. And I'll be honest with you, Regz, even if they find a way to win tomorrow, I don't feel good about this series.
No, the only way you start to feel better is if they win the first game in New York.
Yeah, even then, I don't know. I have no confidence in them winning enough games. I wanted to believe. I was fully in. I predicted them to win. I was saying today they were going to sweep. Like, I was all in, Regs. And they just came out and did. And then I got to hear, well, and look, I'll make the excuses for you. I talked about the shadows. Like, I think I talked about on the show. That was always going to be a thing. You don't say that.
Yeah.
Like, you should know by now that sort of stuff isn't gonna fly here. Like, we don't want to hear that. You sucked. You sucked. You know why the Mets only had 1 hit through 7? Because Zach Wheeler's really freaking good.
Yeah.
He's really freaking good. You didn't hit because you do the same shit every year. That's why. That's why you didn't hit. It's just, it's not even alarming anymore. It's not even like, I don't know the emotion. Yeah, I'm angry. I'm devastated. I'm embarrassed. I'm tired. I've 162 games. And I can tell you right now, I easily watch. The only games I don't watch are the games when I'm on vacation. That's pretty much it. And I don't want to do this anymore. I just don't want to do it anymore. I'm so exhausted of going through the long season and wanting to believe and this is what they do. And put me on social media, the full meltdown of a Phillies fan, whatever. I'm spent. I'm spent. Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong, and I'll come back on here and I'll eat every word. And maybe I don't deserve to be a fan, but it's devastating, and there's just no silver lining, because the silver lining is a guy who can't pitch again until next Friday. Yeah. That's the silver lining.
I don't know. I don't know when it got into their heads that a bloop over the second baseman's head isn't okay. You know what I mean? I don't know when it became not an objective to just put the ball in a hole and get it into the outfield. We literally we watched that approach beat us for 5 runs in 1 inning tonight. We watched it happen. And I just don't know. I just don't know when it became this team's. I don't know when it became an approach for this team that was unacceptable. I still think it might have ruined Bryson Stott.
He's. I almost would just start Cody Clemens.
We've talked about this though, right? We had that long conversation about, and I called it his superpower, right? Even though it was getting to 2 strikes, I understand in most cases that's unsustainable. But his approach became so simple, and his goal became so simple, right? The goal was simple: fight things off until I can just put one anywhere that someone isn't. It makes no difference if it's a double or a home run, right? He was perfectly happy blooping it over the third baseman's head.
Yeah.
And I don't know what happened to Trey. Like, where is Trey Turner? This is not the Trey Turner we watched in Washington or Los Angeles.
It's not the Trey Turner that we watched for most of this year. Like the guy was hitting like 330 until they went into that like weird like slump, and Regz, I don't know. I don't understand.
Someone put it well tonight. And it might have been Jack and James when I was listening to the final out. On the way home, and I re-listened when I got back. And they kind of went back to after the All-Star break, like what gave you the right to take your foot off the gas? What have you achieved that gave you the right to think that you were just flying high and sitting pretty? You're not the 90s Yankees. You know, you haven't won multiple World Series. What gave this team the right to feel like we've done enough, we can coast now? And we've talked about this. The best championship teams are that way because they're focused in every game. The most recent example being the Boston Celtics, who just won the NBA championship this past year. They were focused in every game. It made no difference who they were playing. Did they lose to some bad teams on some nights? Sure. But in every game, that team showed up with one focus. We are going to be the best team when we step on the court every night. It made no difference if it was game 1 or game 100 when they eventually won the championship. There was no difference.
Yeah.
Like, championship teams don't decide that they can go into cruise control.
Yeah.
Do you know why? Because they have a competitive hunger that won't let them. And for as much as this team talks about, we're hyper competitive, we talk shit to each other, blah, blah, blah. You coasted for 2 months and you've been 3 games over 500, and the Mets are 27 games over 500 in that same time. And now they're going to wax your ass in the DS when you decided that winning the division was cool.
And they might win the World Series.
And they might.
Truly.
But do you know why? Because they came together and decided we are going to handle this a certain way.
It is a disaster, and this team is going to lose the city. They have the city. 2022, we were all like, we love you guys, bunch of dogs, like we love you. Thanks for battling, whatever, all of it, all of it. Last year, the choke job, we were like, you know what? It's fine. We'll get over it. We'll move on. I don't think they'll come back from this, Regs. Like this town's not going to believe in them. They're not going to buy into them. People will go. People will fill the stadium, but no one's going to buy into it. They've lost 3 straight at home. And I don't know where I saw it or if someone texted me about the mystique of Citizens Bank Park. It maybe isn't real. No, it's very real. Like
Yep.
you and I were both there. Like Zach Wheeler on the mound, the place was electric. The offense came up. What are we supposed to do? Like, am I supposed to stand and scream every at bat that they're flailing at pitches or hitting weak ground balls or popping up? Like,
And what did we still do in the 8th and 9th inning? Or in the 8th inning, at least.
yeah,
We tried to, even after all those runs, when that first hitter came up, everyone was on their feet.
yeah. When Kyle came up, everybody was up.
Everybody.
And I, like, we don't control what is happening on the field. We add to the chaos of what happens on the field.
Yeah.
But when you just like go silently into, I mean, you said it earlier. After Kyle hit that home run, that place was in absolute
Insane.
that it was one of the loudest 3 minutes of my life
It was the
when he hit that home run.
It was the perfect start.
And
Every
then
single person in that building, all they wanted to do was get through the first inning with Wheeler looking like Wheeler. All they wanted to happen in the bottom of the first was for Kyle to set the tone with a home run. It all happened. He threw 11 pitches with no balls and was throwing 99.
Yep.
And Kyle
Yep.
came up and hit one to the second deck
Yep.
of right center. And
And
the team
Trey
proceeded
comes up
to
and
shit the bed the rest of the game.
and Trey comes up and whatever tone was set was immediately pulled away.
Gone.
And I was infuriated with Trey's at bat because he was 2-2 and he swung at 3 balls. Like he swung at 3 balls. And like I was just infuriated with that at bat.
Mhm.
And then, you know, like you said, Harp did his thing, and then I don't know, Nick just came up and swung at 3 pitches. But it you know, it didn't feel bad at that point. Like it still felt okay, and Wheeler kept going, but the later it got into the game without any runs, it just look, I don't want to keep harping on we know the issues. Like we don't have to. We're just
Yeah.
we're spitballing. I think you know you can't fix. I think I read Ben Davis said like you can't take the spots off a leopard, and that's fine. Then maybe we got to get rid of some of the leopards, Regs. Like maybe some of these leopards just got to go. And right now you can't. You got to play with what you got, and that might only be 2 more games. And then it's a long off season for another long regular season for another month of this nonsense. So there are a lot of spots on this team. I didn't have the bullpen falling apart. You know, I thought maybe like they'd give up a random solo home run. Like that was in the back of my head. Like, but when Alvarez got on, I was like, this is not good. This is you're muted.
Sorry. They were
Usually
ahead.
that's a
I
me
know.
thing.
That's a you thing. They were ahead in every count.
Mhm. Mhm. It was really hard to watch because that's typically that's Jeff Hoffman puts all those guys away. So like I'm not sure, you know, same thing with Strami. Like he gets Nimmo 0-2. Most lefties against Strami in that spot, they're dead to rights. And I don't know if I need to credit the Mets more I can't question Topper for taking out Wheels 112 pitches. Like, he had to come out of the
Oh,
game.
of course he did.
I can't question him for going to Hoffman because I think that's fine.
Yep.
I think the only conversation we could have, the only one, is should it have been Kirkring? And I didn't even text you Kirkring's name. Like, it wasn't even like, in the thought in my head was not even Kirkring.
We were more worried about who was going to pitch after him.
Yeah, it was more so if this gets 1-0 into the ninth, how do you do this? Because if you use Strom, they're going to go to Martinez.
Right.
And, I really don't want Estevez in a 1-run game.
Yeah. But again, then maybe it's Kirkring, right? Or maybe it's...
Yeah, I don't have an issue with the way that the bullpen was deployed. I really don't. I
don't either.
I think the only conversation you could have is, should you have started the inning with Kirkring, who's arguably been your best reliever the last month. But I mean, Jeff Hoffman's been Jeff Hoffman all year. He's a freaking all-star. Like, I've got no problem with that. The blame to me does not lie with the bullpen tonight. I know they gave up the lead. I understand that. I was there. I watched it. The blame for me is that they could not put more than one runner across that plate when Zach Wheeler pitched arguably the best game of his career. That's the blame is on the $30 million shortstop,
Yeah.
the $20 million right fielder, the third baseman who's coming up on a payday. That's, I mean, and you know what? The catcher doesn't go without fault either. He didn't hit tonight either. Second baseman didn't.
And
hit
someone
tonight.
tweeted that they thought some of his pitch calls were a little weird, also, particularly with the bullpen.
Might have been. I think I've always been very critical of JT's pitch calling.
Yes.
I think he's been great this year, but Regz, I do think that some of that is they've seen us so much recently.
Yeah.
And I think, he's trying to get away from tendencies and some things like that. But I mean, I think it was the Vientos at bat. Huff threw slider. That's the pitch he hit. And I'm sitting up in the stands like, throw another fastball.
Yeah, exactly.
He's late. He's been late all day. Like,
all day.
Climb the ladder because he has chased up that ladder all day long. And if you get a strikeout here, we could find our way out of this.
Mhm.
Like, or if he pops it up, because he just wasn't catching it.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, like, they went slider, and it wasn't a good slider.
Yeah.
It was a strike, and it shouldn't have been. I think he was 1-2 at that point.
But still.
But yeah, but that slider either needs to be in the left-handed batter's box, or it needs to bounce before it gets to the plate.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was like a blackout after that. It was just.
And then it was just
didn't
20
stop.
minutes of just a pure nightmare.
It just didn't stop, and now you're leaning on your lefty, young left-hander, in what is his most critical start, against who they perceive to be their ace.
Yep.
And we've seen him a lot over the last month. So the hope is that maybe that sparks a little. I'll tell you this, Regz. I if they do win tomorrow, there's a piece of me that's actually a little bit excited to see the right-handed heavy lineup against Minea. Because I don't really want to watch Bryson Stott anymore.
It's really bad.
I'm just, I know he walked tonight, but like, it's just pop up after pop up after pop up.
I don't
like,
understand it. I don't again, we've talked about this so much. It's just.
So there is a piece of me that's like, all right, we'll see Sosa and we'll see
Wilson or
probably Hayes.
Yeah.
But like, if they lose tomorrow, it doesn't matter. come Tuesday what the lineup is.
No, doesn't matter.
If they lose tomorrow, you can bank on that series ending on Tuesday.
Yes.
They're not winning that game in that stadium down 2-0. If they win tomorrow, they can put that fan base on edge a little bit with some early runs and things like that. But at this juncture, a loss tomorrow is might as well just
don't even get on the bus. Yeah.
Just pack it up, because Mets are playing too well to lose 3 in a row. And I come back here on here tomorrow, and you'll hear me talking myself into the potential of them winning. But I think deep down, Regz, I just today really,
today was that, and I know you always get on me for my first inning text, but I don't think it's an overstatement to say that first inning was your chance to slay the dragon. That first inning, with how Wheeler looked and that leadoff home run, like not just a weak little thing that barely got over the fence, an absolute tank shot. You were staring at the dragon's heart, and you had a chance to kill it, and you whiffed big time. You put up 3 runs in that inning. Like everything's different.
Yeah, you feel good, crowd's loud, Wheeler's dealing, and maybe you can add on throughout.
And I think you're absolutely adding more if that's what happens. I just that Turner and Castellanos at bats. We didn't know it in the moment, but they foreshadowed the entire rest of the game for this team, like we said, outside of Kyle and Bryce.
Yeah, and it's
your second and third highest paid offensive players.
Yep.
So, and again, Casty can't be in the cleanup spot anymore.
No, I think they'll probably switch it tomorrow, but I don't think it makes too much of a difference, unfortunately. They're the Mets in 3 at-bats tonight, or 3 plate appearances tonight, showed that they're not going to pitch to Bryce Harper in close games. They're not going to pitch to him. It's going to be, he got himself out in the at-bat with Rojas. He swung at three balls, but that's Bryce just trying to do anything because the idiots around him can't. So he swung at balls. Because his first 2 at-bats, he didn't. And who's the only one in the clubhouse after the game? We got out of the zone. Bryce Harper. Not Nick Castellanos.
Or
Trey Turner. I didn't hear either of them say it. I heard Nick blame the shadows, and I heard Trey say he took extra BP, which I appreciate. But
Trey blamed the shadows too. There's a whole video about it.
Did he? Awesome. I love that those two had some accountability after the game. That'll win you some playoff games, guys. But there's Bryce saying we chased, and you know who didn't chase? Bryce Harper. He didn't want it bad again.
Yeah, right.
But I do think he was trying to do more than he should have in that.
Yeah.
There was a base open, and he swung at 3 balls. They weren't pitching to him.
Yeah.
Got himself out. And it's so unfortunate. It's so unfortunate because he did that last year in the NLCS too. Because these guys around him don't hit. They just don't hit. So tomorrow is the epitome of a must win.
Yeah.
It's as close to a must win as you can get without it being a win or go home.
Mm-hmm.
Man, this sucks.
Yeah, it's devastating. Devastating.
So Yeah, that's what I said. And that's what I tweeted. I left my house at 10 o'clock this morning. I pulled in at 10:15, and as I pulled in, I just kind of sat in the car for a moment and said, "It's amazing what 12 hours can do to your 12 hours in a bad baseball team can do to your mood."
Mm-hmm.
Because I am not in a good place tonight.
Yeah.
So we'll be
Yep.
back tomorrow, everyone. I have nothing else, Regz.
There is nothing else.
Yeah. Sanchi, we could use you, buddy. But unfortunately, I don't.
It's not up to you, pal.
It's not up to you. I mean, you can go 7 innings with no runs and a hit and still lose the game somehow. So it's on you, offense. It's on each and every one of you.
By the way, only 2 other teams have lost playoff games where their starter went 7 innings and gave up 1 or less runs.
Were they both us?
No, 2 different teams.
Interestingly, we haven't won a Wheeler NLDS start like in the last 2 in any of the years that we've played in the DS.
That's cool.
Because think about it. In 2022, Rangers started in Atlanta. They won.
Mm-hmm.
Wheeler started
game
they
2.
lost.
Yep.
And same thing happened in last year. Rangers started game 1 against Strider in Atlanta. Wheeler started game 2, and they lost. And now tonight,
that's a cool stat.
Yep. So now Wheeler in either of those games, he was still good. Not this good.
No, but still not
but still.
Yeah.
Still really, really good. Here's just one glimmer of hope after Azzy has been just the absolute worst for 25 minutes or whatever it's been. They've won game 1 of the NLDS every year. The last 2 years. And haven't won a World Series. So let's put it in reverse. Maybe not winning game 1 and winning game 2 is the formula that they need.
I don't know how I feel about that.
Well, Regz, I think it's pretty clear how I actually feel about it. Yeah. I've been very clear they're not winning the series. So on to, I guess, a really mediocre football team and Paul George. That's what we've got now. Thought we'd be playing into the Sixers, but it doesn't appear to be in the cards for the Phils. So
yeah.
We'll be back tomorrow night. Probably, if this happens again, buckle in, people, because I am not going to be. I'm tame tonight. Tomorrow we might not even get on here because my wife might be throwing me out of the house. So maybe we'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah.
If not, thanks for listening. We love you. Take care. Get it the hell together, Phillies.
Please, for the love of God.
Oh, my God. Deep to right field. Way up there and way out of here.
The Philadelphia Eagles are Super Bowl champions. Eagles fans everywhere, this is for you.
The 0-2 pitch, swing and a miss, struck him out. The Philadelphia Phillies are 2008 World Champions of Baseball.